Oh my goodness. Join us here today on the and I'm excited. We've got a lot of people on the show today, which is exciting because I can't clear a show by myself. It's impossible. I would have one subscriber and two mic minutes probably. But anyway, thank you for joining us. The Comic Binge. I am your host, Paul Herman. We've got 5 other people to talk about Spider-Man today with everybody, and I'm super, super excited. And we're going to be talking about our favorite celebration, hologram, special issues, whatever have you, Spider-Man comic book that we love for whatever reason, whether it be a stupid hologram cover or whatever. But yeah, today we're going to have a lot of fun. Join us here. I can't wait to bring in the whole panel. I'm excited. I'll introduce everybody here. Hold on, let me. Oh gosh, my computer's very, very slow. What happens when we don't have money? All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. As you can see, we have a lot of people here. This is very exciting. Zach, go ahead and meet yourself here. Thank you. We've got Chris Cloud. Mr. Chris, hello, sir. You could say something.
Why? We got people. Let's keep it moving.
Okay. Adam, sir.
Hey, the heat wave's coming.
Oh, you're already here, homie. Zach is circling, so I'll go back to Javi. Javi, how are you doing today, sir?
Dude, I am excited to talk the season premiere of Star Trek Lower Decks with you
God
guys.
Damn it.
This is going to be amazing.
Go back to old time Bozeman, man.
Yeah.
God damn it, you guys. All right, and then Zach, how are we doing today, sir?
I am doing fantastic. Can you hear me?
I can't.
Because I'm having internet connection.
I don't know anything about that. I know no knowledge of that. I have no experience. But good to have you, sir, from the Spidey Network on our show, Spidey Dude Experience. I thank you for joining us, sir. Exactly. And last but definitely not least, but last because he's the youngest and a baby, Nico.
Dude, Javi's glasses are the greatest thing I've seen.
I think Javi's glasses
is the greatest on-screen wardrobe of a podcast I've ever done is Javi right now. God bless him.
Yeah, Javi, are you in Back to the Future? You look kind of like him. This is kind of freaking me out a little bit. So, anyway, thank you so much for everyone joining us. I really appreciate it. We've got 7 people now. I'm going to jinx it because we're going to keep falling off here. Thank you so much for joining us. Please, if you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe, all that crap. Hate saying it, but that's the only way I can get into this algorithm here. But again, like I said on the show before, we are going to be talking about our favorite celebration issues of Spider-Man, whether it be a hologram cover, a one-shot, I don't know, all that kind of stuff. I'm super excited. So we're going to get right into it because we got a lot of people here, and I can't wait to get into it. So, Zach, I might hit you up first. I know you're having some internet problems, so I don't want to, go crazy here, but I'll hit you up first, and we'll see if we can get you in. But first, before we get you in, I think I'm just going to announce yours for you, just because I know it's a big deal for you, this special issue and everything, and everyone. I know this won't come to a surprise for many people, but it's definitely Maximum Clonage Omega. Which is probably maybe the best comic book ever written by Marvel Comics. If you guys haven't looked at or read this comic book, I feel sorry for you because it's amazing. Look at Spider Side; it looks incredible.
I didn't know Chromium covers were on the agenda tonight. I feel
I said special issues, my friend. I said special issues. So I'm really sorry you had to pick this one, Zach. But I'm just kidding, Zach. Zach did not pick Maximum Clonage Omega, but just for the record, we're gonna be covering this issue one day on the council because look at this. This is the last issue. Look how many people work on this comic book. This is insane.
The story.
Good.
The story of is the story of this particular issue is bonkers, and it needs to be told by itself.
All right.
Well, it is single-handedly one of the worst issues of all time. I will just tell you.
It just might be. And
it is not my choice.
It isn't weird. No,
it is related.
I know, but I just wanted to say that this comic book it may have caused me to almost leave Spider-Man comic books, and I'm not joking. It was just like, what the hell is
Come
this?
on, it's not like
It's
that.
bad.
It's not like ruining.
Have you read it,
ruining the
Nico?
series.
Have you read Maximum Clonage Omega?
No, but it can't
Hey,
ruin
thank
the
you.
character for you.
You know what, sir? Just for that, we're gonna be covering it, and your A is gonna be here, making you read it. That's all I gotta say.
Okay.
You'll be like,
And I'll be there.
this,
Wait,
this is what this will be
Maximum
Nico's
Clonage's
response.
defense.
No, I can't hear
Where's the
anybody.
gavel? Where's the gavel? In
Oh.
its defense, there was no deal with the Marvel Devil. So it can't be that bad.
when did he get a soundboard? This is incredible. Wait, when did this happen?
That
I feel
was
right
that
now.
wasn't me. That was Zach. That was Zach.
Oh,
that
that
was
was Zach.
perfect.
This is incredible. Incredible.
All right, Zach, that was very well done. But Javi, but anyway, what were you saying? I'm sorry.
There was no
So-
deal
so-
with the Marvel Devil. So
that's
it can't
right,
be
that's right.
that bad.
Okay. All right. Good point. All right. So Zach, tell us what your real choice is today.
It is related to Maximum Clonage Omega. It's actually Maximum Clonage Alpha. While the last issue of the story is terrible, horrible, horrific, the first issue actually does a really good job of setting up the story, and it's mainly carried by Ron Lim's artwork. DeFalco plotted it, and DeZago scripted it, but Ron Lim absolutely knocks it out of the park. He was the artist on Spider-Man Unlimited at the time. He also drew things like Infinity War and Infinity Gauntlet. So obviously he's a big name artist. To me, his artwork still holds up. If you've read any of his recent issues that he's done lately, it still looks just as good. In fact, the flippy Spider-Man Scarlet Spider splash page was my avatar on various message boards throughout the years. So, yeah, Vinkman,
Vinkman's calling out Nico, dude.
listen, Vinkman,
Ugh.
and you understand? Yeah. Tom hyphen universe. That would be Tom Lyle. That Tom Lyle, the artist Tom Lyle.
Yeah. Okay, and Kevin, man, we'll get you on. I've got Neil, Chris from the Star Wars show, and we've got Kevin here. We'll get you on soon, brother. I promise. All right. Anyway, continue, my friend.
So it's one of those things where the story is set up so well, and I remember getting this issue and just admiring all the Spideys that are in the cover, and admiring the image of Kane and Ben. So I thought, as a gimmick cover, that actually is one of the better gimmick covers that came out during the 90s.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
And so that one was one of those that you're like, okay. And it was worth the price of it was the same price as a modern day comic today. And it was like what would be a $10 comic is what the price was of this comic. So I picked it up at my local comic shop. I just remember, have a lot of nostalgic memories. I had an alternative one that wasn't necessarily a Clone Saga one. I'll briefly mention, which is Web 90, which was from the 30th anniversary month. And it's definitely a great one too. But yeah, no, I love how they draw in this particular issue how you catch up on the Clone Saga and
Yeah.
how Ben reacts and it really does. If you've not been reading the books at that point in time, it does a really great job of utilizing the space that's allotted to it. My man, if you like Clone Saga, got a show called Clone Saga Chronicles just wrapped up. It's run on Spidey-Dude.com and the Spidey Radio Network. So it's one of those things. If you've not read this issue, it's again, Tom Lyle absolutely crushes, or Tom Lyle. You got me thinking Tom Lyle hyphen. Ron Lim is just absolutely massively underrated Spidey artist.
All right.
You got to check out his work. I just think his work in the 90s was great. All right, I heard the gavel. I'm done.
You heard the gavel. The gavel is spoken. So anyway, I'm in the middle again because I don't like being being seen when the comics come up. Sorry, Javi. In fact, I don't mean to do this to you, Zach, but because Javi looks amazing, I have to put it on the outside when the comics come in because Hold on. Look at him. He's got 3D glasses, sir. 3D glasses. Come on. Who could deny that? Who could deny that of him? Exactly.
I mean, I kind of enjoyed like being in the mirror. I could lift him up and see normally.
No, you don't need to do that, Javi. You don't need to do that. So, and just for the record, I'm with Zach. Actually, I think Maximum Clonage Alpha is not the worst thing in the world. It's actually a coherent comic book, and Ron Lim was doing at the time the Unlimited series for which was incredible and some really good art in my opinion. Adam, are you gonna say something about that? Oh, sorry, I thought you were leaning in to talk. So anyway, that's very exciting. Zach, go ahead. You're muted, Zach. It's okay, man. It happens to all of us. Uh-oh. You're off. Your mic's not working, sir. I'm not sure what happened. Oh, you'll get it back. You'll get it back. All right. So moving on. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. All right. Moving on here. I'm going to go with Mr. Chris. Chris, tell us, what is your favorite celebration, special Spider-Man issue, whatever it be, anniversary, what have you?
You know, I was thinking really hard about this, and I don't really like anniversary issues that draw too much attention to the fact that they're anniversary issues, and maybe that they like include reprints and stuff. Like, I prefer original stories that are maybe a little bit reflective. So by that point, the only one that immediately came to mind was Amazing 500. Amazing 500 was, I mean, it's an important issue to me because that was the first anniversary issue during my time as a modern reader. But also, too, I think that Straczynski just does such a good job of celebrating what Spider-Man is and really the kind of hero that he wants himself to be, and using the impetus of Doctor Strange to see like a potential possible future, but also to revisit so much of the pain that he's experienced up to this point, and then to sort of have those previous forming experiences of his reforge his purpose and his desire to continue being Spider-Man. And then, of course, it is tied up in a bow with an incredible gift of being able to spend 5 more minutes with Uncle Ben. And the thing that I really love about that is he tries to apologize to Ben. And I love the way that Romita Jr. draws Ben in those final moments, because he's really evocative of the way that his dad drew Ben in that scene.
It was his dad who drew those pages.
Yeah, it was John Romita.
Well, then there you go. There you
Jeez,
go.
Chris, what kind of comic fan are you? Get out of here.
I guess. Well, it took me on the ride so much. And I love what Ben says, because Peter tries to apologize to him, and he says, he says, you know what would disappoint me? If you didn't reach for the kind of life I wanted for you, if you settled for less because you were afraid of reaching for more, if you walked away from what you believe even once, have you done that? And Peter looks away, and even though he's just re-experienced a lot of this pain forming his time as Spider-Man, says, no, I haven't. Then I taught you right, and your life has meaning. Yeah. And it's just like, as I lost my dad about 12 years ago.
Don't make me cry.
And what I wouldn't give for 5 more minutes. And the fact that I got to see Peter have that, it hits harder now even than it did the first time I read it. So
Chris, why are you doing this to me, man? I'm getting all emotional. God.
Well, you asked for what our favorite like celebratory issues were.
Don't make me cry like a big baby, you jerk. God.
That's what it is. I love Amazing 500. The other anniversary issues during my current time as a reader haven't quite measured up to the experience of reading that for the first time, and even subsequent times since then. And it's just such a tour de force of Spidey's history and celebrating everything that makes him great.
Well, you know, I love getting all our perspectives here about what special issue means the most to us, because that's the whole point of this, right? The whole point of these celebration issues is to celebrate Spider-Man. We're supposed to give they're supposed to give something special and have some meaning to it, whether it be an emotional issue like this, or it's supposed to be like, like I think in the Doc Ock Spider-Man 800 or 7. It's either 708. I think it's 700 actually, where Dr. Octopus is revealed. Like he's dying, his body's dying, decaying.
Yeah.
And, that was, it's meant more for that kind of milestone issue, if you will, the kind of moving the chains. If football reference, if you want. That being said, I feel like the earlier issues that we've all picked have all seen. There's a kind of like essence to them, a specialness to them. Even like with Maximum Clonage Alpha, like what Zach picked. I mean, and seriously, like you're recapping the whole clone saga. And it's an entry point, and that's an important thing for people because it kind of gets you all on the same page for it, and it's kind of getting you ready for a big moment in Spider-Man's history, which is going to be eventually Ben Reilly going into Spider-Man. So I just think it's interesting that we all connect to these issues in different ways. And I'll be honest, I have not read these issues in forever. A lot of these, and 500, I totally forgot the premise of it. And when I was just kind of flipping through it, getting some pages that Chris, you brought up, I thought it was beautiful. And I was like, damn, this is so like emotional. And like then you had to bring up your dad again, and it's like, God, you're killing me, man. But no, honestly, in all seriousness, it's fantastic. Anyone want to say anything else before? Or,
yeah. What's cool is if you guys remember on the last show, which was or 2 shows ago, which was the JMS one, this is one of the first comics I ever got. And so this was very close to one I was going to choose. So it's just cool. It's like you just said so wonderfully, Paul, is that we're all here because we're fans of Spider-Man, and that's why we're friends and how we met. And it's cool to see how some of our choices also impact the rest of us. And it's cool to know that like this was one of the first comic books for me, but in Chris's case, it's something that actually has massive family and emotional weight to it. It just shows you how powerful that this stuff really is. And for the people who don't know that and don't experience that, I truly feel sorry for them. Read more comics, right?
Yeah, man. Go ahead.
I think Spider-Man stands as an interesting character that serves, and this isn't meant to evoke another character with this name, but he's kind of a Rorschach test, because what you go into Spider-Man with, you could very easily, depending on the stories that you read, of course, and the creators that you read, but he's a character that is so rooted in the emotional experience of what he does that you're probably going to connect with some kind of emotional experience that you yourself went through in a way that is not true of a lot of other characters. Like Batman, for instance, has a lot of emotional distance when it comes to his defining tragedy. He puts barriers between himself and other people. He shows warmth in other ways, but when it comes to that, he's an unreliable narrator because of that. Spider-Man is very emotionally honest with the reader as a narrator of his stories the vast majority of the time. So it makes it a lot easier to empathize with him. And if you go into an arc. Well,
yeah, I know. That's a
be
whole
that as it may,
podcast.
Like, depending on the story that you read, especially if it is like an emotionally heavy one at times, then you might see something of yourself in this. And that's true, I think, of a lot of different eras of Spider-Man. And I don't think that's quite as true of some other characters.
The trench coat Spider-Man, by the way, again, I don't know what the reference is in this comic, is fantastic. I saw that and I'm like, well, that's amazing. So it's been, again,
it actually harkens back to an earlier issue during the JMS run.
Which one?
I thought it was a later issue. I thought it happened after.
Oh, was it after? Oh, yeah.
I can't remember. It might be like right after.
It's 502. That's right.
The guy like gives him the mock-up, and it's like...
It's also been an alternate costume in a few different Spider-Man games.
Cool. Amazing Spider-Man games, which I highly anticipate will probably be in PS5 Spider-Man. I think that's like 5.
It's in PS4. The Last Stand suit, that's in PS4.
Is it in the PS4? I haven't played
with the leather jacket.
Yeah. I was thinking like Shattered Dimensions or Edge of Time. But
it was in. I think it was in.
This is the best conversation of all time, and I'm not even joking. I love this.
No,
I don't even need the gavel. This is amazing, Javi. Before I move on, to anybody else? Because Chris, that was beautiful. But and I'm not. You know me. You know me when I say that. I mean it. I mean that, brother. I love you, and that's amazing. The Reverend has spoken, people. What? By the way, where's your name, the Reverend? Where is this? I need
Oh,
this. I
geez.
need it in your title, sir.
Well,
Like,
I
this
can't
is-
leave the stream now and change it.
Yeah, you can. We'll bring
You
it
can
right
change
back.
it. You can change it in stream.
You
Shut
can-
up, guys. Shut
I
up.
mean, if
Shut
you
up.
listen to what he just said, you know he's the Reverend. Based
Exactly.
On that alone.
Everyone knows you're the
if
Reverend,
You're watching, you know.
He preaches.
He
Wow.
just did. He just
Oh,
preached to us. It was amazing. So anyway,
In
I
fact,
appreciate it. Thank you.
the 2-page splash that Romita does was for a long time the background to Spidey-2.com.
oh, okay.
It was beautiful. It's also the under the slipcover for the hardcover for the first omnibus collection. That's what's
As it should be.
around this.
That's
yeah.
cool. Yeah, and here's the thing, man. Like I didn't put it like as a for us to display because I want people to experience that themselves. That's a beautiful splash page, and so people need to experience that for the story. Javi, sir, did you want to add anything before moving on?
I mean, the only lame thing I was going to add is, hey, it looked really cool in the video game, and I'm just glad I have these
True.
glasses on, so no one can see
That's
my
not
eyes.
lame
You
at
better
all.
miss
You're
me
right.
right now.
You better
So-
keep him on the whole time, please.
Javi, you got
They
it, man.
can't
They
come
look
off.
incredible.
They
I'm not even
can't
joking,
come
dude. They fit you perfectly. It's incredible.
But
I love
also
it.
it's amazing for my
being-
giant head that they actually do.
being right is not lame. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That giant head in real life, I can attest to it.
It doesn't matter.
long, you know.
No. Javi, you're a beautiful man. You're a handsome, beautiful man. Keep
Oh,
those glasses
thank
on.
you.
Yeah, well, at least you
Wow.
guys didn't inherit your nose from Oswald Cobblepot. So
That's true. That's true.
Ignite the Javiverse.
So, yeah, exactly. Keep the Javiverse alive. All right, so we're gonna go with.
And that
All right. So Nico, for those who don't know, Nico is a very obvious choice, and so as far as what he was going to pick, and I said you got to pick something else besides what you're going to pick. I have to. So I challenged Nico to think outside the box because I already knew what he was going to pick, and I was like, this isn't fair. This is not fun. So Nico gets the follow up here. We'll go here and then we'll kind of see what happens. But I did Nico. So for the record, Nico doesn't. His second choice is also somebody else's on the panel that he doesn't know which one it is. So just leave it at that. It's process of elimination. It could be 3 different people. So anyway. But I'm gonna go to him.
It's Maximum Clonage Omega.
Oh, there it is.
Secret. I secretly reveal that I actually did.
Dude, he's like, actually, I read it, and that's what it was. I'm just lying the whole time. All right. No, anyway, Nico, go ahead, man. Tell us what you picked, sir.
So am I doing the obvious one?
Yeah, you have to. That's what
Okay.
we're doing first.
So it's Amazing Spider-Man 300. As I've said on this show on Twitter since Nam. To me it's my favorite. I think it's the greatest Spider-Man cover of all time. It's my favorite costume of him. I have artwork behind me from a very good friend of mine. Shout out to Carlos from the Nerd Room. Why this is so important to me is because it came in the first trade I ever got. This is from like 2001, 2002. It's Todd McFarlane one. It's just 5 issues, 298 to 302.
I get what you're
And, but why it's my favorite is at this point I was like 6 or 7, and the first Raimi film came out, or it was about to be out, and so my dad was having me do a deep dive of the 90s Fox animated series, which was my inception to Spider-Man, which is the greatest thing ever. And the Alien saga, the 3 parts, is in that first season, which we just covered on the Italian Spider-Man Coalition. Shout out to Pops and Pete. Is that I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. So I got a Venom shirt. Venom became the coolest character. I was getting action figures and stuff. And my dad was like, for my birthday that year, he got me this. Which was only a couple months later, and he's like, there's the first issue of Venom in there, and it's one of the first comics I've ever read. And I just thought it was so cool because I didn't know that he had the black hat. It wasn't the symbiote, obviously, for him. It was a cloth one. But so to read this and be like, wait, you mean the actual first time they met, they both had the black on? I was like 7. It like blew my mind. He's like, yeah, dude, they both have the black suit on. So they're fighting each other like that. And I'm like, it was just the coolest thing in the world. So it became just my go-to issue. I probably read it hundreds of times. And the thing about the issue is it's not super deep anything. It's just cool. Like it's freaking cool. Like that's the thing. They fight. He uses his wit in the end because he remembers things about the costume. The webbing comes from the actual alien itself, so you got to keep doing that. It's a cool introduction to Eddie Brock. I don't want to get too into it, but the way Todd draws MJ was fantastic at the time too. I don't want to get into it, but God, did that probably sound so creepy. It was so bad. I was like,
that's fine.
Like,
Don't worry. Don't worry.
Yeah. But it was cool, and just that, and it was fascinating to me when I read this because they didn't start doing the tongue thing with Venom yet, and I actually thought that was cool that he kind of just had the mouth, so it literally was him.
It's creepier,
right? It's creepier.
I think it's a lot I think he's way creepier in this one.
100%. And I think the last thing I liked about it the most that I appreciated as I got older is this is my favorite superhero costume ever, the one right here on the screen. But I think it's cool that this issue in Venom, at the end, how MJ says, is the reason why he needs to go back to the red and blue. So I know he's gotten it back and he's worn it since this, but I think it's very symbolic that he fights Venom. There's this new villain introduced who quite literally looks like him. So I got to go back to the red and blue. The best reason to go back to the red and blue is because of this issue, in my humble opinion. So yeah, dude, it's electric. It's dope. I love it.
Yeah, it's iconic for a reason. And I'm just going to say right now that there's not one reason. I just want to point out right now that this comic is amazing because it's got the Pinecone thing showcased in it. And that to me is the most underrated design and probably seriously, like, bring back Pinecone thing. God damn it. Like, seriously, he's amazing. Like, it irritates me that Ben Grimm hasn't returned to this in forever. So anyway, I think 300 it's a monumental issue. I remember my brother like borrowing it from a friend. And then this is also another random thing. If you've been following my Twitter at all, my recently discovered biological brother, this is a very random story. He told me, and I believe him, he showed me one copy. He says he owns 12 copies of this comic book.
Hold on.
I'm not joking. He told me he has 12. So Rick, if you're listening, you can chime in on the comments. I don't want to ruin anything for anybody, but I was like 12.
So
that's
Paul,
you can that's an investment right there.
We need to talk after the show because Rick, Paul, this is a holy grail issue for me.
I know, man. Nico, I know, man.
If there's a monetary discussion, we can have it. I don't know, man. 12. My birthday's November 23rd. It's coming up. I'm moving out next week. I need something to decorate.
Wait, you're moving out next week?
Yeah.
What? My baby's growing up.
I know. Do these. Don't worry. Like, I'm still gonna be around. Like,
I know.
But so Rick, Paul, if you guys need to talk, I'm serious. I will pay your child's college tuition.
Oh god. All right. So all right, Nico. I'm gonna let everyone else go. Anyone else want to comment about Amazing Spider-Man 300?
I think obviously that's going to be one of the issues. I think there's about 4 or 5 that I think most are going to resonate with people. It is the issue for a generation of readers, and I think that especially if you're a Venom fan, it's just there was a streak, and I think the first 500. Like the first 5 anniversary issues are some of the best. Issue 600 and 700, okay. 800, it was a good ending to a story. 900, very similar to 500. But 300 is very, very, like, it is intrinsically unique, and you wouldn't have the Venom movie.
Yeah.
Have the Venom titles. You wouldn't have any of that without that issue. It's that important. And it's also why it's so damn expensive. So if you're trying to get a full ASM run, get ready to pay for a kidney, or apparently Paul's brother to go get you a copy.
Hey, listen, I didn't say he was going to part with them. I didn't say anything. He just told me he's got 12 copies. And I was like,
well, that's what the discussion is for.
Rice.
Nico's just never gonna let that down. Nico's like, "Oh, come on, please."
No,
where are you?
Please.
Oh God.
I'm gonna be cool about it though. Like, I'm
share
not
the wealth, man. Share the wealth.
If he says no, it's fine. But we have to. Hey, Just like in No Way Home, which we releases on Friday, when he tells Doctor Strange, "I'm sorry, sir, I have to try." Well, that's what I'm doing.
See, you're bringing it all back home. You're bringing it all back home. This is
Listen,
great.
If we ever get together and go to a con of some sort, we just got to get a picture of like him of Nico holding 300. Like, I've forgotten to it.
What I want to do is just have like Nico like laying down with covered in 300s, like just be like,
Oh man,
like this.
Just like
Like,
the
I
comic
would
cover.
seriously pay money to make that happen. Like just 9.8s. He's just like, oh god.
Like,
well,
oh my
Paul's
God.
got 12 of them.
Do a
Got
Stan
12
Lee.
of
Do
them,
a
so,
Stan Lee on the couch.
Do a Stan- Dude, if you get 300 somehow, you're doing the Stan Lee.
I'm doing it. I'm
It's
doing
done. A done deal. You got it. Adam called your A out, dude. Adam called your A out. Anyone else want to comment about 300?
I kind of want to say that this is actually not a bad entry point issue, right?
No,
Would
it's
you
not.
say?
I agree with that. Well, it's because you don't need to know anything, because the climax of the previous issue is just one page, and you get it all wrapped up already. I will say, after reading it, I just read it recently with my chronological Spider-Man read through. The weird thing is, and I was going through it trying to find pictures for Nico. There's not a big, nice body shot. This is kind of really weird to say, but like a body shot of Venom in the book, really, like a nice, like not like the previous issue or the very last page where there's no real like full reveal of the character, which I'll be honest is probably my one critique of the issue. Shut up, Chris. You know what I'm talking about.
Venom didn't send me a body shot yet.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna say. I knew someone was gonna say that joke, and it's right. It's there. I mean, it's there. But anyway,
my God.
But Nico, bring it up again. Bring that picture up again, man.
Yeah.
Like this picture is legit. It's a good.
It's
This picture. Yeah, it's the last page of 299, and it's a great shot.
I mean, it's fantastic.
That's give me something like that again in the issue. That's all. Give the reader something else. Anyway, yeah, that looks great. So, yeah, you just a little bit of body shot. Like, so anyway, anyone else on 300?
Yeah, the reason I'm wearing these glasses is because when we had our chat deciding, right off the bat, I was like, Nico's is 300.
Yeah,
and
we already knew that.
I pulled out my 3D copy of 300 to get these out, and you've got the Venom on the side, and just McFarlane's art in 3D when you've got that spaghetti webbing coming right at you.
When did this come out? Did it come out the same time?
No, this was like the last 2 years.
These glasses are, dude. I'd love you. Never take these off when you're on video.
I'll have to. I mean, it's hanging behind me right now, but when I take it out of the case, I'll shoot you a text and let you know when it was published. But it's fairly recent. And I bought it. It was like $8, and I bought it because, well, there's never going to be a day when I have 12 copies of issue 300.
Yeah, I know.
One copy is expensive.
Keep coming back up. See,
so
yeah, Rick, I'm sorry, I outed you, sir.
If only Paul's brother wasn't hoarding all the copies.
Yeah, it's you, sir. It's you, Rick.
He's rising up the market value.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, how much could I get from this desperate kid right now?
Oh my God! All right, we're moving. All right, hold on. I gotta. Oh God! All right, so moving on to the next person. Oh, Zach, well, you get the last say. Go ahead, sir.
Do you know why it's hard to get a 9.8 graded copy?
I have no idea. What's up?
It's because of the back cover. All black, and you get little white creases. You open it up frequently. Therefore, it degrades the value of the comic the more you read it. So that's why it's hard to find.
Read more comics.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Here's the funny thing: CGC don't give an F. I read my comics and they have creases in them, and oh well.
Yeah. For those that are collecting comics to collect them, that's why you don't see a lot of 9.8s out there.
Yeah, and just like our boy says here, you gotta shoot your shot. You know, just like that one song on Hamilton, I guess, or shoot your webbing if you're. Anyway, all right. So, we're gonna go hobby next.
Oh, don't we have a backup for Nico?
No. He has. Let's just say this. We're just gonna see what happens. Who happens to have his second issue or his second pick. Let's see what happens. We'll just keep it everyone on the edge of their seat. So Javi, please go next if you could.
I tried to go not as obvious with some of the big amazing issues, and kind of gravitated between two issues that are very, very similar. They both have Cummer gimmicks. They're both in the same title. They're both by the same creative team.
Man, you're giving it away.
At the end of the day, yeah, I had to give it up to my boy Spectacular 189. It was between this and Spec 200. God, the hologram does not pick up well on camera at all.
It looks good.
Interesting.
Anyway, continue, Javi.
This was just, I mean, one of the reasons why this one won over 200 was because this one was celebrating the 30th anniversary, much like this show's logo tonight. Marvel had 4 anniversary books. It started with Web, which had a red cover and a Ramita hologram. Then it went to Spec. Then it went to Amazing with a Bagley hologram, recreating Amazing Fantasy 15. And then we ended with Spider-Man green cover, and that's the less said, the better.
Well,
this in particular was...
This was the last
This was the last one?
Yeah. So
well, I bought it out of order then, because
I don't remember what order I did either. Continue.
Web.
Isn't ASM the last one? I think ASM's the last one.
No, it was Web.
The first one, I thought.
No, it was Web.
Excuse me, jeez.
Who's got
no?
And then Spec. Spec always came out in the 4th week.
Okay, then.
That's how, because like Clone Saga, that's how they're arranged. ASM was.
Now hold on, you can't.
Well, the thing is,
was like 4 years later.
I know.
The thing is, though, hold on. It should be noted, actually, because I looked this up today. These weren't all released in the same month. These were released over 4 months.
Oh. All right.
Wow.
Well, Adam,
further research is needed.
I know.
Anyways,
continue, Javi.
I at this point I was in high school. I didn't have a lot of discretionary funds, so I mean I was pretty much buying Amazing and adjectiveless Spider-Man. But Craven's Last Hunt is just one of my favorite comics of all time. Period. Let alone Spidey. And they did somewhat of a follow-up with The Child Within, which brought Vermin back and dealt with Harry and Peter's childhood. And that saw Harry go from being kind of like a helpful version of the Green Goblin, where he was trying to redeem his father's legacy. And we saw Harry descend into madness. And with this, he goes further into that. He's tormenting Peter with little gotchas, which carries over into the Clone Saga in issue 200. And it climaxes at the Osborn family home with little Norman and Liz, who's just a mess right at that point, and her brother, the Molten Man. God, and Spidey has to confront them on the grounds. And he's had enough because Harry's delivered packages to their home. He blew up an effigy of Spider-Man in his and Mary Jane's bed. It's just gone too far for Peter. So it ends in this fight that's reminiscent of Amazing 122, except Harry doesn't have the little pointy thing. And Harry gets defeated and he's got to be taken away, but he stops at the end as he's being loaded into the wagon and says that he knows who Spider-Man is, but he's not going to tell anyone just yet. And Peter stands there victorious, but the way the camera pans out by Buscema's art, he looks alone and defeated.
Yeah. He's isolated. Yeah.
Yeah. So it always stuck with me as this monumental issue. And while it's up on Marvel Unlimited, it doesn't have the backup story, which is Aunt May waking up like she always does, and she feels alone, and she's remembering the night Ben was killed, and how Spider-Man was there, and how he was there when Gwen died, and,
I forgot about that.
and how he was there when Nathan died. But then she remembers the prior spec issue 188, where Spider-Man returned Peter to her alive after fighting the Vulture, and how she kissed him on the cheek, and how polite he was, and how respectful and humble. And she realizes that Spider-Man doesn't mean death. He's like the beginning of the way back from having these losses. So while digital is great and convenient, you really need to track down this physical copy, not just for the cool Bagley hardcover, but and it's Bob McLeod too. So it's kind of like a Craven's Last Hunt reunion story. And on top of that, this was like up on my wall. All four of them were.
Oh my Lanta.
You ever seen it before, Nico?
Not this one.
Yeah, dude.
Charles Vess.
Yep.
Spider-Man.
You know, it's funny, we have 189, but my dad has never let me open it. That's probably why.
That's why.
Oh my God! This was the best poster.
I'm gonna do it now because he's not home. So
that's awesome.
He's also watching. So.
Yeah.
Sorry, pops.
The Knights of Knee.
There'll
be no longer Knights of Knee. It'll be Knights of Disowning. So
right now.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
But this really culminates in 200, which leads to the death of Harry Osborn until he gets brought back.
Yeah.
Until it gets explained away that he didn't.
Yeah. But I just want to say for right now, Spec 189 and the whole run of this, I got off and on as a kid. Now, again, if you're me and you're in elementary school and you have barely no money, and I'm getting any book somewhat consistent with any consistency as possible, I was getting the Spider-Man books in some consistency in some form or another, and I loved Spec. Always did. Always loved it. The Green Goblin stuff was great. I remember reading Wizard magazine and then them just being like super snotty, being like, Spider-Man's hasn't been written well in years, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, what? I'm like, Spider-Man's been like awesome. I don't know what people are talking about. And I know there's a lot of love for this era now coming up, and it's starting to like get bigger and bigger and bigger, which it needs to, because things like 189 and 200 and all the Child Within, all those are fantastic comic book stories. If you haven't read them,
all the Roger Stern stuff.
Yeah, the Roger Stern stuff. Like there's it all needs to be read. And JMS, JM DeMatteis, and Sal Buscema have such an underrated, phenomenal, classic run. And 189, 200 are just great culmination of issues. And again, there are things in The Child Within and 189 that really bring a lot of things in my life that like touched me as a kid, to be honest. It hit it home a little bit. There's a lot of things in it that are just amazing and just really emotional storytelling. There's a part, I want to say it's in like the Vulture issue. I think the first Vulture issue, and Javi, maybe I don't know if you remember this, but Spider-Man looking for the Green Goblin, and he finds one of his hideouts and he punches in one of them, and he opens up this like little like cupboard, and it's just a Green Goblin costume hanging up on the wall with a spider web over top of it, and it's just like and it's a 9-panel grid, and it just closes up to like the face. Oh my god, it's like there's no words.
It shows his mask and it shows the Goblin mask. It's great.
It's like Buscema. I'm just like, why don't people like give this guy, like, this guy can tell a story like none other, man. Like and you brought up, and I'll shut up here. I'll do myself do it for myself here. I just want to say that he is a master of doing like things like the very end of that book of 189, where it's like it pans out and it just emphasizes the loneliness and the isolation, that's the burden that he now has with Harry being in custody. So I just had wanted to say that. Anyone else?
Sequential storytelling is just it's off the chart, and it's one of those reasons why I love Spider-Man 3 as much as I do, because I didn't think we would see these elements of the Child Within and 189 and 200 come to life on the big screen, especially so soon after it just happened. Like the whole thing with the ghost of Norman haunting Harry, that's all Child Within stuff. That was, 90, that was a year or two before this. So within a decade, it was up on the big screen. I was blown away because that's what I wanted to see for after the first Spider-Man movie came out. That's what I wanted to see for a Spider-Man 3 was for Harry to have a shot at being the Goblin. And
Yeah.
maybe he wasn't in the costume, but at least I got to see that acted out in live
There's
action.
a lot,
You
a
had
lot
that-
of good in that movie, man. A lot
You
of
had
good.
that
in
like because in the movie you have that he's like messing with Peter and like he does throughout this whole saga, and and then it just comes to a head with that no holds barred fight, and then there's the redemption, and yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's very similar.
So I went. Minor note because I was wrong, and I want to admit that I was wrong. So Spec 189 was the first
Okay.
Okay.
the 30th anniversary books. Came out cover date June 92. The on sale date was April 28th of 92. So the week was the correct week. It just the cover date was different. So what they did was June, July, August, and September cover dates all each had these holographic special covers and special books. So it was Spectacular, Web, Amazing, and then Adjectiveless was the last one. And the colors were red, blue, black, and green.
And
there
I'm
you
going to say this right now. Me and Javi already talked about it. That Spider-Man, the oh my God, adjectiveless Spider-Man. I can't. Anyone knows I can't talk. That
It's a good
issue
thing you
is
have
so.
a podcast.
I know, God. That's why no one listens to it. So like, but seriously though, like that issue is so bad. Like I don't even remember it. I remember reading it and going, "This is garbage." So
That
It's
that
bad.
Marvel Age that I shared the cover with you guys earlier, that's got like a whole article about like the making of the hologram covers.
Yeah.
That was one of the gimmick cover that actually worked. I felt like those are not bad in terms of gimmick covers. We ought to do a whole episode on gimmick covers. I think that'd be kind of fun.
Oh, we will. This is just, but this is like our picking our favorite. They actually have like there's some, again, celebration. What gives us, hologram covers or I have no shade against it. Yeah, but yeah, 189 is a underrated classic. That if you can go ahead, sorry.
This 30th anniversary issue is 30 years old now. That's what we're here to celebrate. 60 years of Spidey, and this is the halfway point.
Way to make me feel old.
Hey, buddy, I was in high school when this came out.
Oh,
Hey,
I know.
man, I'm mega old, so me and Javi are the oldest ones here. We're elder statesmen. We can,
Young
we
in
can
spirit. Young in
Yeah,
spirit.
there you go. Thank you,
Exactly.
thank you, Nico, Mr. Baby. So Mr. Baby, I like that.
That's your new name now, Nico.
That new name,
Mr.
Mr.
Baby.
Baby. Not Boss Baby, it's Mr. Baby. No, this is great. So Chris, have you read 189?
No, I haven't.
You need to get on that. Like
I do.
It's difficult because it is on Marvel Unlimited,
It's unlimited.
but they haven't collected the full run, which they need to do
because
that.
the problem is they need to get the full run because you get a full because J.M. DeMatteis does a phenomenal job of building the character of Harry. Like to me, Harry is not an interesting character. Even after, I've read. I'm up to right now like the Venom arc, right? So I've read all the Spider-Man comics up until then. Harry is not interesting until J.M. DeMatteis, in my opinion. Like I can 1000%. I'll fight anyone on that.
That's one of the things that frustrates me about both Marvel Unlimited and DC Universe Infinite is just that there are some strange and rather pervasive omissions in runs like that you want to dive into. Like last night, I was trying to look at Ron Mars's Green Lantern before Kyle was introduced and before Hal went crazy with Parallax, and they don't have anything before he turned into Parallax. Like they just have the story where Coast City was destroyed for the beginning of what they have for that run. And that's
Mars was on before Emerald Twilight?
No, he wasn't. It was somebody else, right? He came on last minute.
He came on later, but the beginning of that volume is just like the first 47 issues are just not there. And I thought that was weird. And then like on Marvel Unlimited, it seems like there's a lot of holes when it comes to...
Did it get pulled because of the author, I wonder?
See, I was just gonna say we're just gonna leave it at there. That could be a very good point. You know, we'll just leave it there. Yeah.
I'm wondering if that.
You talk down on issue 26 of Spider-Man, that volume. It has a very good backup of Mark Bagley explaining Spider-Man's power.
Oh,
Yeah.
so
okay.
that
and I somehow I remember that from my childhood. Somehow I didn't have that issue, but that was reprinted in something that I did have. I'm pretty sure.
Interesting.
Because Mary Jane was sneaking up on him with the pillow to attack him, and he's like, "That's not how Spider Sense works."
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. All right, right on. Well, so so we're gonna move on to Adam's next. You're next on the list, sir. Here we go. Let's see if we can figure this out. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I picked Spectacular 200. Look at that. That cover's
great. Interesting.
Nico, you can piggyback off of Adam when he's done here.
I almost don't really know what to say about it. It's been a while since I've read it, but I'm like flipping through it, and it's basically a masterpiece.
It really is.
Yes.
Like it's possibly JMD's magnum opus. Well, that's probably Craven, but this is like
a second.
This is like neck and neck. This is just like, this is how you do an anniversary thing. Yeah, like look, they're like Peter's just losing his mind with worry about Harry, and it's just so interesting that he has this villain that doesn't really. This villain really wants to hurt him, but just him personally. Like, that's Venom, but Venom will like kind of go after people closer sometimes, but Harry just wants to go and get Peter. There's a beautiful scene in the beginning of this. He goes after Mary Jane, and he's like, "Mary Jane, you're my family. I love you. I don't have a problem with you. I have a problem with Peter." And it's like, man, what happened to this guy? They were best friends. And it's just this heartbreaking tragedy at the end when they have this big brawl, and Peter, in classic Peter fashion, he convinces his friend to do the right thing, and ultimately Harry pays the price for it. And it's just, again, we're talking about how great Sal Buscema is. The last few pages, it's just a masterclass in storytelling and I love how J.M. DeMatteis talks about this. He's like, well, I was going to write over this, but I was like, I can't write over this because it says all you need right there. It's just a heartbreaking, emotional, tragic ending to Peter's best friend, essentially. And I don't know. It's great. It's fantastic. It's like probably it's like top 5 Spider-Man stories of all time.
Absolutely. And no one talks about it enough. That's what is so crazy to me. Just like the last issue, this one no one talks about, and it baffles me because it's Green Goblin, right?
And that's a sell right there. Green Goblin, boom.
Yeah, but that's all you need. And so, I'm going to shut up after this because everything, I think, Javi and Zach are going to have a lot to say. Obviously, we have someone else who wants to follow up on this in a second here. We'll get to him in a minute. But, Adam, I'll make sure you have anything left to say. I just got to say, this is a phenomenal masterpiece. This is probably the most, maybe, because it sucks because, again, it's underrated, which I have no idea why. But this is a masterpiece, whether it's overrated or underrated, regardless. And if you haven't read this issue, this is probably a good standalone issue, in my opinion. Like, you could probably read this and not have to read a ton before.
Yeah, would you agree? I would, because that's how I read it a few years back. So
yeah, so
I think having the context helps, but to see why Peter is so on edge and why him and Mary Jane are fighting and she's smoking because of all this crap that's happening, because Peter's life is basically falling apart because of the Harry stuff and Venom and his parents coming back, and all this craziness is happening, and everyone's just on edge and at each other's throats. I guess my final thought will be like, it's what it's what J.M. DeMatteis does best. The whole like, it's very dark, but there's that hope
light.
shining through at the end.
Yeah.
Which is what a lot of his Spider-Man stuff, the early stuff, is all about.
Yeah.
More or less.
And-
a lot of heavy
yeah,
stuff that,
Mhm.
but he pulls through, and it's meaningful.
Yeah. So Nico, why don't you follow up here, sir?
Yeah, man, this is a masterpiece. It's
Yeah,
it's,
boy.
it's just a masterpiece.
This is your alternate to 300, by the way. But please announce to everyone.
This is my alternate. So if I wasn't going to pick 300, it was going to be this, because this is an issue. I agree. So first of all, everything that Adam said is absolutely true, and I co-sign all of it. It's
but not me, you jerk.
No, you
Mr.
too,
Baby.
right.
You know what? I
That's
get
right.
out of here.
That's right.
Everything Adam and you said is so true, but what you brought up as well, Paul, is that like I don't understand why this isn't talked about more. Like I was literally talking to someone, and this is no disrespect to the person or the people, but I was talking to a few people and they referred to this as a low-key issue, as a deep cut. I said, what do you mean it's a deep cut? It's one of the most significant events in Peter Parker's life. This is one of the biggest moments in Spider-Man's life, because it's a culmination also of Peter, MJ's, and Harry's relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, I think an underrated aspect of this issue is how much MJ is pleading with Harry.
Word.
To try to go back to, what
Mr. Baby.
they were. And that's actually, it truly is. This is one of the most, if you're really, I think on its own, it would have this definition as well. But if you are a Spider-Man comic book fan, this is one of the most emotional Spider-Man comics that exists.
Nailed it, homie.
Yes.
And
it's the back of Nick Spencer's run.
It's
like
you're
the
right.
backbone of his run.
Yeah, you're right.
Heavily.
Yeah.
And it's still, we still go back to it, and that's why when people don't talk about it enough, I'm like, there's so much that comes out of this just historically. And I think another thing I love about it too is not only does it have one hell of an opening with that Green Goblin splash of those panels, but it's such a high stakes issue. I mean, even on reread, knowing what happens, I mean, you're tense, especially at the beginning here. I mean, it starts off, he grabs MJ, and you're like, oh man, here we go. And it's perfectly set up in 189, which Javi brilliantly talked about earlier. And it's, I think the thing I love the most about it, though, is that it's such a strong Harry issue. And you really see also his own culmination of how he's dealing with the loss of, his father, and how he wants honor in his name. He can't let go of the fact that his dad was the Green Goblin and how it ended. But I love how this, like you all said, it ends hopeful. And I think the beauty of this too is he dies. A lot of times in storytelling, when the friend becomes the villain, how they go out can be variable. But I love that he dies as Harry, and he dies being a hero.
Yeah.
Which I think is brilliant. And this is one of the stronger, I think, deaths of a character in at least for Spider-Man characters. I could say maybe in all of comics, because it's such a culmination of their relationship, and he dies, inspired by Spider-Man, but he dies being a hero. And I mean, that last shot, and I love that Spencer brought that back to open up, his final issue. I'm so glad that multiple of you were considering this tonight, because man, this is such a good one. And yeah, dude, I agree. It's top 5. It just is. It just is.
That's a good point. Like it really is. It culminates Harry as a character and really sums him up in the most beautiful way possible. And again, that's a great point too, Nico. I want to say this, and I'll throw it to everybody else here, but I think that the Mary Jane aspect is probably one of the most underrated aspects of that comic book. And I think it's written beautifully, because it shows you how messed up Harry is, but like he's in there somewhere. And again, when you establish that at the beginning of the issue, you believe the very end, right?
Yeah.
So it's again beautifully set up by J.M. DeMatteis, but and obviously he plotted it, but Buscema, I just want to just throw this page one more time up, and I'll throw it to everybody else here in a second. I just gotta say, like this page, like this 9-panel grid here is just which for some people be like, who's trying to copy the Watchmen? Shut up. Anyway, I just wanted to say that right off the bat.
Paul
Look at that.
loves 9-panel grids.
I do. I know, legitimately do. I love that.
I know you do. I'm not kidding.
I know. Like this is no. I know. Anyway, I love you. But I just love the very last panel of this page. Like I love that he's in
dude.
all
Oh,
black.
hell yeah,
Beautiful. Like
dude, I love that.
yeah, this is what I'm talking about when people like. This is why I love the medium so much, because when you can convey and use your artistic expression to convey that emotion in a very subtle way like that, Buscema just oozes that crap, man. Like he's not his brother. Like John Buscema is like a masterful like craftsman of comic books, is like, you know, drawing beautiful drawings.
Illustrator, more of like an illustrator kind of thing.
But Buscema is maybe one of the most underrated storytellers in comic book history. He is just phenomenal. Yeah. And I just, after reading his Bill Mantlo run with Hulk and reading all the Spider-Man comics and all the other comics I've read, Buscema is a master. And so I just wanted to say that right off the bat. Chris, have you read? I'm assuming you haven't read 200 because you haven't read 189, but I could be wrong. Have you read 200 before?
No, you're right. I mean, this is kind of an embarrassing blind spot for me.
No. Nothing to be embarrassed.
You're good. I mean, it's understandable though, because it's been reprinted in the Son of the Goblin trade with 189, and that's it. So
yeah,
honestly, I mean, it's utterly criminal that this run of DeMatteis and Sal Buscema has not been collected.
It's disgusting.
Physically or physically, it is utterly disgusting. And look, it does get collected physically. It will get collected digitally. That's just how it works. Because as soon as they get it,
I think I mean, I don't know why, but it has to get printed first. Hopefully they're in the stages of remastering it all, because I know they've done the Vulture stuff. That was in that Vulture trade that came out when Homecoming came out. And they've done 189, they've done 200. So, I mean, yeah, I think it's coming, but when? Who can say?
I would be fascinated. I'd be fascinated to know what the condition of some of these books are in the actual archives, because I know that they can't just scan the newsprint if they're going to be distributing it digitally. I mean, they have to do.
But they could.
Well, yeah, they could, but I mean, they would probably need to. It looks different though.
They did it with the Taschen thing.
Well, the Absolute edition that I have of Batman Year One has
this is amazing.
2 volumes. One of them is from I guess like Gem Mint scans of the original newsprint issues, and it looks great. I'm glad that that's a volume that's in there, but at the same time, like I don't see them releasing a lot of comics from, even as high quality of scans as those are, I don't see them doing that very often. Like the 4-color doesn't quite seem to mix very well if that were converted into a digital format. I mean, if it means getting the issues up, then go for it.
Yes.
But I do like the additional attention to detail that they put in to restore the original pages and the original line art as much.
Here's the thing, man. Like I've said before, we're gonna have a special episode of Comic Binge one day. We're gonna talk about the future of digital comics and what they need to do. And I've already said before, and I'm gonna say it again right now. You know what? Give us options for coloring. Don't worry about it. Like, because right now, let's be real. You can go read these comics scanned. You can go do that. Yeah. I don't want to promote it, but you know what? You can. And you know what? Yeah. As someone I'll be honest, I've done it because I can't get them anywhere else. Yeah. And it doesn't bother me. It does not bother me. Like, if
it's not out there in a physical edition or digitally, that in an official capacity, then it's like that. I mean, that's their fault, not ours.
Exactly. Yeah.
I missed the part where that's my problem.
I missed. Yeah. but I see all that to say that I'm seeing these printed scans from the newsprint, right? And I don't
it would be kind of cool to see, like in the future, if they have
both
options. Yeah. At the same time, like. You can flip between them. You know, it's like if you play Halo, the Master Chief Collection, you push a button and you could go to new graphics and old graphics. So do that with these old printed comics, you know,
Nico
from print to. Oh,
is this him?
This is him. Rick, if you're listening, sir, I just want to say right now that I don't know if this is true. But no, I think he's referred. I'm not sure how much you've seen, Rick, but I've told Nico about your 300 situation. and he about blew his balls off. So,
will
Mr. Baby,
give
you
you
can go ahead and
spiel.
plead now if you'd like.
He says it's true, no, which means he's not giving one.
I think
That's
he's
what he
talking about
means.
the comic coloring, because
Oh.
I'll be honest, because my new biological brother here, hello Rick, thank you for joining us. He's actually a chemist, and he actually his whole YouTube channel is actually about what's it here? What do you
Yeah,
say
see,
here?
I told you.
It's
I
like,
respect
well,
I
respect
totally
that.
respect that.
Well, it's there you go, Nico, Mr. Baby. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm gonna die with him. So.
It's gonna be his cast.
Wait, he says and give them the paw. Well, then.
Oh, there you
Yeah,
go. Okay,
well.
so
you're
Rick,
saying
I'm not
there's
gonna
a
stop you.
chance.
You're saying there's a chance.
I'm not gonna deny a 300 issue. I'm not gonna lie, I don't have it. So, but in all seriousness, again, I'll have to get Rick on about this because he cleans comics like as a hobby, and so
awesome.
go to his YouTube, Immaculate Comics. Rick, I've already said before on the show. Again, I'm not sure how much you've seen, but we're gonna eventually do an episode with Derek and you and me, and we'll do a whole comic connection. It's bonkers. But anyway, we clean the comics, and I'm curious that I don't mind newsprint. I love newsprint. I'm sure you do too, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I would actually be interested to know if there's something that he has seen in terms of the cleaning that he's done, improving the quality of scans. I don't know if that's ever anything that he's tried to do.
Rick, if you can speak to that, sir, please chime in. Anyway, we've talked a lot about this. I even asked Javi what he thinks, or Zach. Javi, Zach, do you want to add to this at all, sir?
Touching back on the whole scanning issue, like I mentioned earlier, like I read 189 this week on the Marvel app. It's on the Marvel app. It's on the Marvel Limited app, and it's awful. I mean, not only because it's missing that extra content.
Oh yeah, okay,
but
yeah, okay.
It's lazily scanned and framed. So like the images that I sent you, I had to like justify them and correct them because on guided view, it's a little askew and
sometimes
it's bad.
Hobby, do you find that sometimes the colors might get blown out on those things too, or
yes,
have you
I
been
definitely agree to that.
No, it has been sometimes,
but
it depends.
I think it depends too. And again, I would
Torment
like to
too. I reread Torment on there, and it's really bad.
See, I wonder if
were done too.
What's that, Zach?
Depends on when they were scanned. If they were, if
like those need to be redone totally.
Because you read some of the old Spider-Girl scans too, like because Spider-Girl was one of the first that got scanned in digitally.
See, but then you also get like into tricky questions about preservation, because if you had the opportunity, let's say, to go back to an issue of Amazing that was drawn by John Romita Sr., like if you could get the pencils and then actually reconstruct the artwork from the very beginning, is that still something you want to do? Because chances are you're going to lose something when it comes to like a reconstruction as opposed to a scan, because it's going to fundamentally look different.
I know for the Masterworks, they had to go in and kind of reconstruct Ditko's work in a very similar fashion.
The original ones or the new ones that are coming out?
The originals.
Dude, okay. For the record, there's a new. Of course, they have these brand new like
remasters.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? Like they're like, I'm not sure what they're called, but they look phenomenal. They look phenomenal.
Are you talking about the Mighty Marvel ones?
Yes,
smaller ones.
I do think that when it comes to this stuff, you legitimately get into like a ship of Theseus argument, right? Yeah. Because the pencils will be the same, like conceivably anyway. The bones are going to be, although, you know, if you're talking about a book that was inked in the 60s, maybe they won't be too. Yeah. Like if that's the original surviving element where the pencils were literally inked, then maybe those elements haven't survived. So if you are going to reconstruct them, are you going to do so in a way that looks too fundamentally different from the way that it was originally printed back in the day? It's easier now, but
this is an amazing conversation. I have to end it because we got
the gavel.
We still got to get mine. Mine's gonna take 12 hours, man. No,
it's like no, we can do without that one.
No, I see how it is.
200's an amazing issue, and it's not just like I brought up earlier with. I mean, this is the basis of Nick Spencer's run. Is Kindred comes from this, but I mean, even like when Norman came back in Peter Parker 75, which I left alone because I thought maybe Zach was going to touch it. Like this plays in heavily with that and everything that came after with Norman, because he had to get revenge for what happened with Harry, and going back to like the whole, digital version of everything, why it's not available. Like it wasn't until the last 5 years that I got 190, and I reread this today because I only had 189 and 200, and like. I saw this on the stand. I'm like, okay, it's the Rhino. Spidey's eyes look weird.
Freaking love it.
It's an amazing issue because it's got Harry with Dr. Kafka, and Peter he gets attacked by the Rhino. Basically, Harry hires the Rhino to attack him and say, I know about your secret. Rhino doesn't know anything. He just wants the money so he can go back home to Russia because the wall has fallen. He can see his family and live in peace. Like it's horrible because Spider-Man kicks the hell out of him. And when he finds out why, Peter Parker from a year ago would have been like, oh, I totally get it. Fine. And he would have let him off the hook. But after Child Within and what Harry's put him through in 189, like, no, he like beats him bad. Like you don't even see it. They won't even show it to you. And this is where, like, I know a lot of people complained about the whole I am the Spider thing when we get into the Clone Saga. But, like, it all starts in these DeMatteis issues.
Yeah, that's
where
a good
you
point.
see how Peter gets eroded. His sense of compassion just starts to fall with everything that's Harry's been doing to him.
And anybody that's ever to break down.
No, I was just going to say, find these issues.
Yeah.
The way that boils into it, like the I am the Spider stuff may have seemed stupid to a lot of people, but when you sit there and you read it with the context of like these issues that we're talking about, it's definitely one. Look, I could have picked like 15 more. I just decided to go with, one that
first one. But really quick, do you want to add anything to 200 really quick?
200, again, it was one of those things. I remember getting it off the in the strip mall where my comic store was at. It was one of the first books that I ever got from that comic store. So got some great memories of that. And it's just a gimmick cover that actually worked and actually looked.
Yeah, it's the holograph on that is great,
and it's lasted this test of time.
All right, 200 has been decided, and it's obviously it's been picked by multiple. It's almost picked by almost half the thing. So I mean, it's pretty crazy.
So you have to read it. Everyone read it right now.
Yeah, go read it, and that goes for you too, Chris. Which Chris brought up a great point about, which we'll do an episode about that, because I think there's a lot of good, especially with the Shang-Chi situation that's happened recently. There's a lot of interesting takes about digital, physical, and
something that real fast that comes to mind.
Right,
I mean, Paul, you and I have, and you guys probably also have, or some of you at least have, the Absolute Edition for The Killing Joke. And Brian Boland famously recolored that book to his own specifications. It's a fundamentally different look than the way the book was originally printed. Right. So it's not like DC isn't making both versions available. They are in different ways. Right. But when it comes to like the preservationist argument, I mean, reading it with the original coloring can be a pretty fundamentally different experience than reading it with Boland's conceivably intended coloring. So does authorial intent trump the way that it was originally published, or like which one is the legitimate version?
Yeah,
I think that's kind of an interesting potential.
I mean that.
Hold on.
That's like the Batman and Robin versus the Dark Knight. Like it fundamentally changes the visuals on that story.
Yeah.
Future comic binge
I
episode.
know.
I promise. We'll get the same council on. We'll just call it.
It's on tape. It's on tape.
It's on. We'll get it. We'll get it. Which Javi? Which this is. I hate stopping these conversations. I'm like the king of me. I'm the king of side tangents. So,
Yeah.
but we got the last one. I try to keep these episodes swift so people actually stay and watch the whole thing. Like, subscribe, all that jazz. Okay.
That's fair. That's fair.
And I go last because no one stays to the very end. So I rather sacrifice
wow.
myself for all you.
Oh, dude,
So,
I'm hyped for yours, man. I've been waiting.
Let's do it.
Okay. This is again for special people who have made it all the way to the episode. Thank you, and hit the like, all that jazz. Thank you, Mr. Baby, for saying that. I mean, it means a lot.
Dude,
I mean that.
genuinely mean it.
I know. That's why I genuinely am very happy and makes me feel very good because you just love that.
a new challenger approaches.
I freaking love Javi. I love all
The tail's up there, so I don't have the tail.
Yeah.
whack,
All right.
So
I'm gonna set up a little bit. Because the reason we're doing this whole episode is because because we're doing the celebration of how many years it's been. I forgot how many years. Is 60 years?
60.
Yeah, 60. So I wanted to make sure that I did something special for a celebration of Spider-Man. And I thought, okay, let's just do like anniversary issues. I'm like, well, there's only going to be a few of those. Let's just do any special issue. And so I immediately went there's two issues in particular, and they're weird because they're very far apart, but they're also in different parts of my life that mean a lot to me. And so I'm not picking two, but I want to reveal what I was going to pick, which is my childhood favorite. I picked this up at the Tom Thumb in Lake Stevens, Washington. And I think my brother did too. My brother, Derek. We both picked this up, and Rick, if you're watching, this is literally what we did. We bought two of the same comic because we would fight and kill each other over everything. It was originally going to be an ASM 350, and this is a phenomenal issue of Doctor Doom versus Spider-Man, and it's great. Eric Larson just kills it. It's super fun. I could not, because Doctor Doom is one of my favorite characters in comic books and anything. I love Doctor Doom. Always loved the character. And I almost picked this issue because it's a favorite of mine. Eric Larson, I think he really does a phenomenal job in it and everything, but it was up between but it didn't win out. I had this and the other, my final pick. And what I did was I wanted to reread both of them back to back to kind of see what would be like the deciding factor. Right. And I got to tell you, it was after I read the first one, I'm like, nope, it's just going to be it. And after I read ASM 350, I'm like, yeah, this is it. My choice for my favorite anniversary of Spider-Man issue or special issue is going to be ASM 200. This thing it's phenomenal. I remember when I've never read it before until a couple years ago when I was doing my chronological Spider-Man reread, and I just got through, I want to say Conway, which is phenomenal. And then I go through Len Wein, which was not so good in my opinion. I am not a Len Wein Spider-Man fan. I know Len Wein's a good writer. I think he's a solid, he's solid, but in Spider-Man, oh my God, I just was groaning. I'm like, get me out of this, man. I could not take it. And I got to tell you, when Marv Wolfman is the guy who wrote this, and he obviously the one who created Black Cat or helped create Black Cat. When he jumps on, it's a breath of fresh air. And I was loving that stuff. And it was leading up to this issue. And this issue is when this burglar that killed Uncle Ben comes back into Peter's life. And it kind of stinks because you kind of have to know a little bit, read the first couple of issues before to kind of get the lead in a little bit. But regardless, it is Spider-Man's powerless because Mysterio like hits him with some injection that makes him powerless. So he basically has to face a burglar as Peter Parker essentially. And it's so good. I mean, yeah, it's dated, whatever. But if you just read like in the art, I mean, it's Keith Pollard and Jim Mooney, underrated artists, great artists, if you excuse me. And it's great. Like, this is like, look at this. This is like the burglars just smacking around Peter. Like, I mean, it's just phenomenal stuff, man. And again, a great retelling of the origin
page,
which by the way, I'm a sucker for this stuff. Like every anniversary issue has like, a retelling, has to remind. And again, this is why I love these issues, because they're there to be special. And I think Zeb Wells did a good job of this too, a little bit, is reminding us what makes Spider-Man tick. And it's a story that emphasizes the critical essence of Spider-Man. And you can't do that every issue, but on these special issues, you should. And this is a great example of why. And this is like Peter, just like he wants to get his revenge, and he's ready to kill this guy. Like he's ready to kill him. And in the end, he basically says, like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to kill you. And it's basically Peter coming to terms with Uncle Ben's death and basically saying, like, I don't need to kill you. Actually, I'm going to be the bigger person and not do it. And this is I'm just going to spoil it here. It's a great issue. Read it, but this is it. Like right here, he just basically says, like, I don't need to kill you. And you've taught me a very valuable lesson. And it's a great issue, man. I can't talk enough about it. It's phenomenal. Go read it. Read like issue, I think like 198 to 200, something or whatever it is. But if you want to just read 200, you won't be disappointed. It's phenomenal. I'm not sure how many other people have read it, but this is by far one of my favorite Spider-Man issues ever. I think it's one of the best ever written. Marv Wolfman's run, I think, is underrated. No one really talks about it, but the dude it was like only like maybe a year, maybe. And he does such a great job of writing these characters. I was so bummed when he left the series, but it's a big impact. I thought it was really cleverly done. Why the burglars there is really funny and interesting, because it basically you go back and explain tons of stuff, but not only that, but you get to see how Ben Parker died, which I think at this point, again, I read every Spider-Man comic up until then. I think this is the first time in this issue you see why and how Ben Parker dies by the burglar. So super interesting. Has anyone read this issue besides me on this panel? Please tell me I'm not the only one. Oh, we have. Okay. So Nico,
Yeah,
please.
I read this one too.
Oh, you have. Okay. So what's the, so Chris, tell me, we'll go with Chris here. Chris, what's your take on this issue?
I love it. I mean, it's another one of those books that I feel kind of reinforces what I loved about reading 500, in that it brings a lot of really interesting information to the table. It's a bit reflective, but it's focused on character. It's beautiful. And like the layout, even of this page that you just picked out, I mean, it's so interesting to just look at this, and it feels weirdly modern in the way that it's laid out. Like that's the only real other word that I can use to describe it. I mean, Spider-Man is also probably kind of always ahead of the curve in that respect, but I think that it's been a long time since I've read it, but I mean, it stands out in my mind just because it was a joy to read, and it's a beautiful book.
Yeah. Nico.
I would just say it's hard to add. You beautifully talked on it, you both. It's just it just reinforces so much about the character. And I'm a sucker for any time that Peter has to confront something that has to do with Uncle Ben. And I think it's like Zach said earlier, like these first like 5, so 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 anniversary issues do such a fantastic job of doing something important / iconic for Peter. And this one really, and I love how Chris just used the word reflective overall. And it's hard to add. It's hard to add. But it's I would call this, of those first 500, 1 through I would call this, of those 5, I would call this probably one of the more underrated ones.
Absolutely.
I would say so. I'm loving that you pulled this, brother.
Yeah, there's just something about I think Spider-Man and just how, again, because Peter is obviously these comics and these characters all deal with trauma, right? And like, so we all identify and put our own traumas onto these characters, which, when again, with any kind of story that's worth telling, you have to identify the characters and you project yourself onto them and you connect with them, right? And I think with Peter, it's so easy to project yourself onto him, because how many times have we all been super like angry and depressed? Wait 1 second, I'm gonna mute you, Zach. Oh geez. I got you, Zach. Don't worry. I got it. So it's just one of those things where you project yourself onto it, and when you see them confront their darkest days in the past, you just can't help but just love to see the Peter at the very end he comes through, and I love that. And I love the fact that he, through adversity, he still like, he doesn't give in. And it's always, honestly, maybe it's subconsciously, but I think that's where I grew up loving Spider-Man, because I put a lot of that on myself. Like, I don't want to give in. There's temptation for us to give into our anger. I have a lot of anger issues, I'll be honest. And it's one of those things where I look at Peter and like, he's got an anger problem like myself. I'm probably have a worse problem than he does, but he does. I think he has a temper, and he always kind of manages to keep it down and overcome. And I just love that. I mean, it's Spider-Man in essence, right? But there's a different way of doing it. And Marv Wolfman did a phenomenal job giving it to us and having closure on a character. I think that was on a situation that, like, let's be honest. I mean, I've heard about like Joe Fixit having, or not Joe Fixit. Oh my God. Is it Joe? What's his name? Joe
Chill.
Joe Chill. Joe Fixit.
Because there is, I wonder if he was I mean, Marv Wolfman, I think, is a Batman fan, right? So I wonder if he kind of took that for this.
Yeah, maybe. But I know like Joe Chill has like a million different like, endings. And I like the fact that the burglar is pretty much like, this is definitive. So, really quick,
well,
hobby.
It's been a minute since I've read it, and I haven't owned it in like over a decade now. So I'm not going to be as eloquent as you guys were about it, but I think it's one of those stories that's really important, but it hasn't carried forward in the same way as, some of these other ones, like, the first appearance of Venom or the death of Harry. Like I think the first time where I really knew what happened, and granted, this is the 90s, so the internet was still just kind of a thing, was in Sensational Spider-Man, where you find out that Ben is dating the daughter of the burglar. Like, that was like the first inkling I had of what happened in this issue. Yeah. And then, that got expounded on just a little bit by seeing the cover in I think it might have been the second PS1 video game, because you had to go around and collect issues, and then you'd get a blurb about, hey, there's this cover and this is what happened. So I didn't really know a whole lot about it until I got it. So I think that probably adds to its obscurity. That and the fact that, like you pointed out, it's Marv Wolfman. Yeah. And this is the guy who destroyed the multiverse, who killed Barry Allen, who, co-created the new Teen Titans. Like, we could spend a whole hour just talking about all the influences that Marv Wolfman has done. Like, no one talks about like A Lonely Place of Dying, because they're always talking about Crisis, so it's understandable why this would be one of his overworked looks, but just because it's overlooked or not is talked about doesn't mean it's not as worthy as some of those more headline grabbing issues. Yeah, no, I recommend. So, go read it again on Unlimited, man. Like, it's a good. I definitely will. It's a goddamn great read. Zach, have you read this comic? I mean, because it does have. I forgot the burglar, daughter plays a part, which again is fantastic drama. I love that crap, But have you read this issue before, Zach? I'm assuming you have. Zach. Here, you can speak, Zach. Forever hold your peace. Oh, you're still muted. Try again.
Take two. Well, no, I was muted on the board, and that's when Waylon decides to start shaking his head because he's ready for bed.
It's all good.
But I've not gotten a chance to read this particular issue. I think I've actually no, I have. I'm sorry, it's been a while. I read it on the DVD of the Amazing Spider-Man DVD, where you could like watch it, like you could go through the digital copies. It had the first 125 issues. They had the CD-ROM version, and then they had the DVD version, which was just one single disc.
Well, all right. Well, Zach, get out of here, man. I know you're it's late. It's an honor to have you on. Go if you haven't already. Go get some sleep. I'll plug your stuff. Don't worry. Go follow Spidey Dude Experience. Go watch us on YouTube. Go do Patreon for Spidey Dude. Zach's a great guy. Read more Spider-Man comics to steal it from Lyler.
Council.
That's Spider-Man Council. Yes, you are an original member. Don't worry. So one love, sir.
Whip the whip.
Whatever that sound effects is. So Adam, wrap it up for 200, sir. What's your take on? I know you said a little bit already, but you get the final say on it, sir.
I mean, I feel like I haven't fully read it. I've like flipped through it and I've seen some of the big beats.
You suck.
But you know, yeah, I know.
Whatever, man.
One thing I'll add.
I'll end it at that.
One thing I'll add, and is this issue, and then 189 and 200 is why Spider-Man 3 doesn't get enough credit, because Raimi really tried to bring in elements of all of this in there. Yes, Sandman is substituted for this, right. Especially when you throw in that daughter aspect, but like, man, I know the emo Peter scene and dance scene. It's god awful.
Dude, that's great. I love that. I don't even care about that.
I love works for the time, but there's so much good, and Raimi really tried to tie everything and tried to bring in some source material. So it's Javi and I will talk about this. We've talked about it with Pete before. Like, Spider-Man 3 gets so much hate, and it's only the emo Peter stuff that anyone ever talks about.
It really isn't.
There's 2 hours of the movie there that no one talks about. Yeah.
I didn't see it. I didn't see the movie until I got the DVD for Christmas that year. I didn't see it in the theater, but when I saw it like Christmas Day or whatever, I was like, this is pretty good.
We'll discuss it on a future episode of
Don't be a hater, Paul.
Don't be a hater. I know with my life.
I did think it was weird that the burglar was there because Uncle Ben bought a personal computer back in 1979. Like, I thought that was an odd wrinkle to the origin, but Wolfman was ahead of his time.
Yeah. All right, so let's.
If you know what Javi's talking about, then you are actually a real one.
All right. This council has been adjourned. Thank you everyone for joining me. And last minute, I know we're gonna do it next week, or we were going to do it next week, but then we decided to do it this week. And but I'm glad we did. This has been a blast. I knew it was gonna be a blast, but this was like ridiculous. This is self-indulgent basically for me. But thank you everyone. Like, honestly, you guys taking the time out of your life to do this is a huge honor and privilege. So thank you. I guess I'll kind of go to Mr. Baby first because he's the youngest. So Mr. Baby, where can people find you at? And like, what? It's great.
No, Chris, we'll talk about this. This is
yeah, right. You're starting to feel part of
no, whatever. Embrace it. Don't even try to fight it.
Embrace it.
You can follow me everywhere here: Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and Nico Caruso. I do TikTok reviews for film as well at Nico Knows Film, and for House of the Dragon as well, because it slaps and I couldn't not talk about it. Yeah. I also do a Spider-Man podcast with my father and Mr. Peter Vera from Batman on Film as well. The Italian Spider-Man Coalition, 2 wonderful gentlemen at Italians for the number 4 Spidey. We're getting ready to gear up and do another episode. We did just cover the alien costume saga from the 19.
I rest my case.
From the 90s.
I rest my case.
So if you want the precursor to Spider-Man, my love for Amazing 300, go check out Italians for Spidey. And also on here, the Comic Binge. Please follow Paul and the Reverend and
Mr. Baby.
We're here often, but it's legendary. And Paul's
it's not like Nico's saying, you ever see that really old movie Aliens?
Listen. When you're the youngest, you get the most shit. Let's just be real.
And I accept it with open arms, bro.
Yeah, and listen, and I've said this to Nico before. And I've said that, like, I think Nico is going places. He's a phenomenal talent with podcasting, and he's just beginning because he is Mr. Baby. So he's just beginning. And I said in the most respectful way,
he'll be Mr. Man.
Yeah, he'll be Mr. Man eventually. And in all seriousness, he's awesome. If Nico keeps going, like he keeps perfecting his craft, he's gonna be legendary. And I'll be like, you'll be like, I knew Nico one day.
You'll be right there with me. You'll be right there with me.
I may, if not, that's fine too, because you're a good soul, sir. So I'm really honored to have you on the show. Thank you for coming on so many different times. It's been awesome to get to know you. And all right, go follow Nico's stuff. We'll go next to Javi, Mr. 3D himself.
About the whole time, I love it.
I know.
We're the new Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah, dude.
We got Mr.
Mr.
Baby,
3D.
Mr. 3D, Mr. Reverend.
If they hadn't
Mr.
done what I told them not to do, it'd still be alive. Anyways, you can follow me at ASM_classics or at Javi True. But ASM Classics is in season 2. My son and I are going through the Stan Lee, Steve Ditko Amazing Spider-Man issues. He has never read them. I haven't read them in quite some time, so it's been a fun journey. We've got some Doc Ock stories coming up for us to record next. But
Master Planner?
No, we're not that far ahead. We're still year 1. We're still year 1.
Okay.
But we should have a new episode dropping any day now, any moment. It should be hitting your streams. And you can also read my written reviews at batmanonfilm.com. I've also been on the podcast a little bit more lately.
Good.
And just recorded an episode with the head honcho himself.
Good.
Where we started a new series for all of us to join in and do hosting whenever we want. It's called Batmanimation. It's wherever you find your Batman on Film stuff. And we are talking about any animated appearance of Batman. So Bill and I discussed the Super Batman of Planet X episode from Batman the Brave and the Bold.
Cool.
Trying to keep them short, 20 to 30 minutes. And when these two Texans get on the line, we spoke for over 50, covering a 20-minute cartoon. So it's a lot of fun.
So I can
it's totally a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And
so the Harley Quinn show counts, right?
Oh yeah. Batman's in that.
Okay.
So there we go.
Dude. Is it like the book club where I can recommend, I want to call an episode or something?
I mean, kind of, yeah. Because Lauer did the first one. The Ryans did the first one. Haas and Lauer, and they did the Fear from Superpowers, which is a Alan Burnett written episode.
Okay, that's why
it is amazing. It's so good. Okay. Yeah, it's Superpowers.
If it's Lauer and Haas,
Adam West does Batman, and the Scarecrow makes him relive his parents dying.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Nick, I don't mean to do this to you, but I'm just gonna go right now and cut to the chase. Can I call Batman Beyond Return of the Joker right now? Like, I'm not even joking. I want to do that right now.
Oh my god. I think like some of the fellas already claimed that one. Everyone's
buttholes.
That one.
Get me on that show. Javi, pull some strings, man. Come on, help me out here. Anyway, just Javi is just amazing. It's a year of Javi. That's all I gotta say. It's the year of Javi for me. And if people aren't following Javi on Twitter, do yourself a favor, go do it right now. Follow him. If he doesn't have 1,000 followers in the next 2 months, it is a travesty.
It's a crime.
It's a crime against humanity, man. Like, I'm not even joking. Javi should have more followers than everybody. Like, seriously. Like, straight up.
Also should have an entire film universe greenlit.
Yeah. Like, Javi is.
That's also what should happen.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Like, I just want to
man.
say the fact you're doing more shows on Batman on Film is just more podcasts is like only a testament to like how good you are. And so just like, let's just keep it going.
Thank you.
That's all I gotta say.
Thank you.
Keep it going.
I appreciate that.
Of course, my friend. Love you, bro. Adam, I love you too, as always. But where can people find you at?
Enchilada Legs on Twitter and Spidey Dude Experience on the Spidey Dude Radio Network, which is on spidey-dude.net and YouTube and all the podcast player thingies out there. Yeah.
Adam, you're like you're old faithful for me. Whenever I need someone, you're always there. And I mean that. It means a lot. You're always there. I appreciate it, brother.
Greatest Twitter handle. Also,
it really might be the greatest Twitter handle of all time. I'm not gonna lie.
I want to know what it means, but I also don't. Like, I want to just.
It's not as exciting as I thought. I thought it was just like.
I want to just like mentally create what I think enchilada legs means.
He told me, I was like, oh, I wasn't as.
Yeah,
cool
no.
as
So I don't want to know. I'm sorry, Adam, but I don't know.
If you want to reveal it, you can. If you want, Adam, or we want to do off the air, you can do that too.
No, don't. Not.
No,
off the air.
Today is not
off the air. Okay, that works. That works.
We're like, well, I don't know. Well, not on the air. We'll do it.
You got to save it for council meeting 200.
Yeah,
it's got to be a big.
There we go. There we go. I love it. That's great. That's great. Last but not least, my best
but yeah,
friend
thanks,
in the world.
Paul.
Of course, Adam. You know I love you, bro. Last but not least, my brother, one of my best friends in the world, Chris Clow, someone I can debate with and yell at and then just love him the next minute. So just love you. Just love you. We hung out last Friday. Had a great. We stayed up way too late arguing. It was crazy. But you know what?
That's the best.
That's the best. It really is. Steel sharpens steel, or in his case, adamantium steels like a rubber band, which is on the rubber band. So, Chris, where can people find you? Because you like everybody else doesn't have enough followers. It's ridiculous. People need to follow you on Twitter and everything. Where can people follow you at, sir?
You can follow me on Twitter at Chris Clow, which is right there.
The Reverend.
We've got Discovery Debrief is getting ready to finally talk about the finale of Strange New Worlds, and we're going to be recapping. I think we're going to go 2 by 2 on Lower Decks.
Okay.
So we'll take it a couple at a time. The first one was a lot of fun. And interestingly enough, I've talked about comics on consoles a lot. I started a new game plus playthrough the other night of Iron Man VR.
Oh,
because I already platinumed it, but there's a whole new difficulty, the ultimate difficulty that is something, and it's a pretty exceptional game. So I might want to talk about that a little bit more in a formal capacity soon. Because I like it.
You platinumed it, by the way. Javi did the whole in the corner. I love that flex.
Yeah, check out my trophies on PSN. Project_demolish.
But did you get 240% on Batman Arkham Knight and get
3 times? Yes.
Suit?
Yeah, listen, Javi, look who you're talking to, sir. Like this guy.
Yeah. Actually, I'm in the process of getting a platinum on the Return to Arkham collection for Arkham City on PlayStation, because Xbox doesn't have platinums, but I've 100%ed all of the Arkham games 3 times.
I respect that, because those Riddler trophies are aggravating, man.
It's just time. That's all. I got nothing better to do.
I was on
not anymore, sir.
Like,
yeah.
Man,
it's so satisfying to finally put your boot on Eddie Nygma's face. Yeah, especially in Arkham
you guys are out
City.
of control. All right, I'm going to end this here.
I never did it in Arkham City.
All right, we're going to end this here. You can follow me on Twitter at Herman22 with 2 N's, aka P Thug. Please, again, if you're like the one person who's made it all the way to the end, like, subscribe, because if you haven't by now, I'm gonna be really upset with you. But yeah, thank you so much for everyone who's watched it. Follow us on the Instagram, all that jazz. God, I hate you, Chris. So it's, again, love it. Next week, I'm not sure what we're gonna do next week. We moved the episode up, so I'm not sure what's gonna happen. I'll figure something out. But the week after, Daredevil Yellow with Jay Yaz and Michael, who was from on previous episodes, big Daredevil fan. So I'm very excited. With She-Hulk coming up, Daredevil Yellow is gonna be pretty fun. We'll have a great episode next week. We'll figure it out. But Reverend, why don't you take us out, my friend?
Read more comics.
Read more